So, you're getting married. Congratulations! Adam Straney is a civil celebrant known as the Master of Ceremony. He talks to couples about what planning their wedding was really like, how the ceremony really played out, and what they would change if they could do it all over again. Welcome to Real Weddings, Real Couples with Adam Straney, the Master of Ceremony.
All right, so thanks for catching up the podcast, Real Weddings, Real Couples. It's a new podcast that's no bullshit. It's real couples that will help you navigate the do's and the don'ts about wedding days from couples that have been there and done that. And I want to welcome my first guest in the podcast, Katie and Porky. I don't know why I said Katie and Porky, because it's actually Kate and Porky. At the time of recording this podcast, it's actually your anniversary, guys. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
You'll be OT. I'm surprised you're not both wasted right now. Isn't that what you do on the day of your anniversary? You go out, you have lunch, then you come home, you have sex, and then you go out and you have dinner, right?
Well, that's what's happening after this. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Thank God. All right. Whew. Thank God it's not happening right now. Hey, congratulations. It was, we cast our memory back. It was the 10th of March back in 2018, pre-COVID, pre-all that sort of stuff. How's it all been going so far? 3 years ago.
It's been good. We've almost divorced 5 times, but no, we're good.
Well, I can understand that bloke sitting right next to you, Porky. I mean, mate, I've got to be honest, you were probably one of the most loose units that I have ever met, and still to this day, look at you, that cheeky smile on your face. Still to this day, one of those loose units, mate, that's just having fun. Your wedding really was just a great fun day, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
The text I got from you the next day, Adam, was epic.
It was.
It was. I remember that. You're like, mate, that was epic.
It was, the location and everything that you had. Look, run listeners that are listening to the podcast, run them over the location and how you came to choose the location.
So we holidayed down the south coast of New South Wales all the time. Our main holiday spot is Growley, which we absolutely love. Before Porky and I got together, him and his family would go down there every year as a family holiday. And then when I started going, we just fell in love with it. So when he proposed, we decided to look for somewhere on the south coast because that was just special for us.
Yeah.
And so looking at wedding venues, there actually aren't that many on the south coast past Mollywood. So then we found Batemans Bay, which was close to Growley, and there's this beautiful restaurant called On the Pier. Unfortunately, that restaurant isn't there anymore because the new bridge is.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So it's actually not there anymore. So we were really lucky to be able to have our wedding there, and it was just a beautiful restaurant on the water with their own private pier where we got married on. We hired out the whole thing, and it was just beautiful. The whole scene and picturesque of it with the sunset and all. It was amazing.
Yeah. Look, Porky, I remember seeing you when you arrived, because I got there pretty early, set up, and there was a whole bunch of people coming in. They were looking around and like, there's no Porky. Mate, you turned up. What was that feeling turning up to your wedding and having everybody come up and say good day?
I don't really know. I can't remember it that well,
Like I said, you were pretty loose that night, mate. I mean, there's got to be
Yes. I'm still recovering.
There's got to be a bit of excitement though, right? Just before Kate comes down.
Yeah, just a little.
He was sweating bullets. He was so nervous.
I've got to be honest, he was shitting himself, Kate.
The owner had a towel for him to wipe his sweat.
Yeah, that's it. And it was just such a hot day. And I think all of us collectively, we all thought that it was going to be, because it's on the water in Batemans Bay, it's right there on the Clyde River, it was going to be this beautiful sea breeze. It was such a friggin' hot day. And touched with your nerves as well, Porky. I've never seen a dude shitting himself so much. It was just hilarious, mate. But I know that we had a bit of a chat beforehand, and trying to settle the nerves of couples is a huge thing. How did you do it without saying alcohol? How did you actually settle your nerves, mate?
Drugs? No, I don't really know how I did it, I don't know.
Yeah?
Just stood there and waited, I guess.
Yeah. And that moment, that moment that you saw Kate for the very first time, I know it's difficult to remember because it was 3 years ago. There's a lot that's gone on in between now and then, but can you remember what that was like for you first, Porky?
Yeah, turn around. I was just like, fuck, this is really happening. Like,
Yeah.
like, it was a friggin' awesome feeling, actually.
Yeah.
Turn around, see your beautiful wife, to be walking down the aisle.
Yeah. And Kate, what about for you? I mean, at that moment, because you could see everybody, and you knew that everybody was looking at you. You were really, you had that beautiful moment where you were saying hi to a few people, and then you fixed your eyes on the back of Porky's head. And then when I got him to turn around, what was that like for you?
Honestly, I was so ready for it. As soon as I was coming down, I was saying hello to people because I saw he had his back turned. Thanks, Adam. And as soon as he turned around, I was just so happy to see him. He was smiling. He looked so happy. I was happy. I actually wasn't nervous. I was so ready for it. We did a rehearsal the day before, which I think really helped get rid of the nerves for me. So when he turned around and we locked eyes and had that moment, it was really special. It was really good.
Yeah. Now, coupling everything together and having a bit of a think, I guess, for you, Kate, because let's be honest, Porky, you did nothing for your wedding, mate. You literally, you turned up on the day. We had a chat beforehand. We met, we caught up, but you did nothing. And I guess like a lot of grooms, right? What grooms do is they say, I want to organise my bike, or I want to organise my car, and I want to organise the booze. Can I do that, darling? And most wives go, yep. Right?
Yeah. I got the best advice from my brother ever.
Yeah.
All you have to do is rock up on the day, that's it.
You did that.
Honestly, at the beginning of our wedding planning, he was being really difficult, right? So he wouldn't let me plan anything, wouldn't let me book anything. He was just being really difficult. He thought that it all looked crap and what I was doing was wrong.
Yeah.
And then his family had to step in, and his brother said, mate, all you need to do is get your suit, arrive on time on the day, and get married. Who gives a shit about flowers? Why do you care about that? You're a man. Don't worry about that. She's fine. She's fine to do it. Just rock up on the day, get married, you'll be sweet. And it was the best thing he ever did.
Best advice ever.
Yeah, absolutely. Where did we catch up the very first time to have that first meeting?
South Coast Wedding Fair.
That's right, it was too.
Yeah, it was.
That's where we first met, and then we went to his house.
Yeah, but that's where
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah. It was at the South Coast Wedding Fair.
Yeah, we met our florist there, and she recommended you. So we went straight outside and saw you, and it was freezing cold.
Yeah.
We gave Porky a pen and paper to start writing some stuff out, and then you and I were just chatting. Me and just chatting while we were chatting. It was great.
And look, did you get most of your supplies from that one day? I mean, there's plenty of wedding fairs and there's expos and all that sort of stuff, but did you get all of the help and the knowledge for your wedding day, Kate, through that one day?
So we found our photographer online who was at the wedding fair. We found the florist there, and we also found you there. So those are the three main vendors that we found at the actual wedding fair. Highly recommend expos and wedding fairs, absolutely, because you meet so many different people. And then for the other vendors, we actually got recommendations from the owner of the restaurant down in Batemans Bay, because it was quite hard, because Batemans Bay is quite far south.
Yeah.
So we also got our cars at the wedding fair as well.
Yeah, got the cars at the wedding fair.
Yeah, we got the Jag.
Hey, and I organised the fireworks.
Oh, he organised the fireworks.
That's right. Yeah. You got OJ to come across from Canberra too. That was epic. That was one of the real highlights, because it was so tough. Everybody was dancing. It was so tough to get everybody off the dance floor and go, righto, we've all got to go outside now. And then it was like herding cattle to get everybody back inside. Like, come on, guys. The fireworks is over now. Let's just go back inside and have a good time. Look, because I did the ceremony and I was also the MC as well. Look, if there was any advice that you could give to people about planning their wedding and how to go about searching for their vendors, what would that advice be, Kate?
Definitely research options online. Really have a conversation with people in person. That's why I love expos. even that first 30 seconds to a minute, you will have a connection with someone, and having that connection is so important. I'll be really honest, we found our photographer online and then we met her at the expo. I really wish we had have met her first before booking her, because when we met her, we didn't really have that connection. And then on the day,
She was shit house.
we wish we had have had a different photographer. So I really highly recommend meeting people face to face if you can, or even Zoom like this.
Yeah.
And just feel that connection, because if you have that connection, you'll really benefit for that on the day.
Yeah, absolutely perfect advice. And I mean, you know, I guess I'm pretty lucky that I don't do a great deal of expos now. I think it's sort of a double-edged coin, double-edged sword, I guess, where I still want to do expos because you do get to meet amazing people like yourselves, and you do get that connection. But there's so many recommendations that come from past couples and the funerals that I do, and friends who say, oh, we've got this mate who's a celebrant and you'll love him and you'll get on so well. And I know that I've been thrown a couple of phone numbers from you too, Kate. So I mean, that's the thing, I guess, when you are at a point where you are getting a lot of recommendations, that you do still want to support those small places like the expos and the wedding fairs, and they're just they're great times, and it's all good fun for the vendors, and we all have a great time while we're there. But then to meet couples is absolutely brilliant too. If there was one thing though that you could change, I guess, about the way that the day went, would there be anything you would change, or was it that much fun that you just had a ball?
And we would actually change our photographer. So we had one photographer and she was by herself. We would have changed a photographer that had an assistant and perhaps gotten a videographer. Aside from that, the day was brilliant. Aside from the photographer, I wouldn't change anything, would you?
No.
No, it was great. Aside from the photographer, who we both agree we wish we had a different one.
Yeah.
And we wish we had gotten a videographer as well, because we didn't get that at the time. We wouldn't change anything else. It was really good.
You know, it's amazing the amount of couples that say, oh, we're not quite sure about a videographer. I don't know if we know them, but they're so essential. I love having videographers. You know, they capture the day perfectly. And yeah, even though you've got some photos, to see it all put together in a package is just amazing. So what was the easiest thing? What did you like the most about working with all of your vendors? And you know, I mean, obviously we didn't all catch up together, but what was the easiest thing about catching up with all of us?
Everyone was so accommodating. Like, whatever you wanted, your vendors would just do. Like, our florist was from around where you are, which is you know, South Coast, but not as far down. She drove all the way down to Batemans Bay, dropped all the stuff off to the grooms, dropped the stuff off to the girls, went to the venue, set it up. Like, she was just so accommodating. Same with yourself, you were so accommodating with phone calls and emails. Just made the whole process really easy. Even the photographer made things easy leading up to it, like you know, corresponding, and even Belinda on the Pier was amazing as well. Everyone was just really accommodating. It just made it really easy. Like, when you've got people who just will do whatever you want and give you advice along the way, it was great. I think that's what I found really easy with the vendors.
You know, it's a great location there that unfortunately isn't anymore in Batemans Bay on the Pier, but it's quite a big location. It was a bit of a funny setup because there was a few people in a few different locations. Would you have ever thought about including more, or possibly even cut back some numbers to make it a bit more intimate? Was there ever a thought about that? Did you want it to be any bigger?
So we did cut our numbers back at a specific amount.
Sure.
Looking back now, I wish we actually had less and made it more intimate.
I wanted to be more of a party. I wanted more people.
Mate, you had me drinking a shoey, for God's sake. You had me drinking a freaking shoey. Jesus.
I have a professional photo of that, Adam. Porky's trying to find it now.
I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. All I can think about was I am drinking out of Porky's shoe right now. Why didn't I sleep? Oh no, it wasn't yours. Well, that's even worse. Whose shoe was I drinking out of? It was such a fun night, and that's the thing about your receptions as well. They can be amazing nights, and we just let that night roll. It just sort of flowed, and there was nothing uptight about that reception, was it?
No, it It flowed the way that we wanted it to. By having you as our MC, which I highly recommend to anyone, to help flow with your wedding, especially with reception, to have an MC correspond with the venue managers or whatever to make sure it runs through smoothly. I highly recommend having an MC because it makes it just move along nicely. And we found that was all, that all worked really well. Oh my God, wait for it.
Oh no. I'm glad we can't see it properly on the Zoom, because God, do not text that, do not tag me on Facebook. And now that I've said that, I bet you will, you bastard.
We've already tagged you.
Shut up, Porky. Hey, I guess one of the big things is in that process and that lead up to, the 10th of March 2018, what were either one of you worried about? What were your major concerns going into the ceremony itself?
Am I doing the right thing?
Yeah, you certainly have doubts, sometimes leading up. I think we as a couple, we're quite outspoken, both of us. So, we butt heads all the time, and you have your doubts when you're strong, passionate people. Sometimes you just kind of think, am I doing the right thing? Because marriage is a big deal for us. Well, he never wanted to get married, but marriage is a big deal for me. And
Just a piece of paper to me.
At the end of the day, you do have your doubts leading up to it. But I think when we finally got down there, we did our rehearsal, we just both went, this feels right. Like, this feels good.
So it wasn't worth the hassle, was it? It wasn't worth the worry, was it?
No, not at all. And like, you do worry and you do get nervous, and even the little things, like I told my bridesmaids, don't put nail polish on, just have clean nail polish. Like, who cares about that stuff? You don't even think about it on the day. Porky was chucking a crap about having real flowers on the table because he didn't want real flowers in front of him. He didn't sit down for longer than 5 minutes other than to eat his steak, chips and Diane sauce to even worry about it. So all the little things that you think are important, they're not important. You don't have to worry about them. Yeah.
Now, look, I mean, in 2018, it's 3 years ago. If you don't mind sharing, how much did you spend on your wedding day? Everything all up.
Everything all up.
Rings and all.
Everything that you had on that day, Porky.
Was 40,000.
Sure. Would you have ever thought I would spend more or less on your wedding? If you were to do that wedding tomorrow, would you spend any less, or would you spend a bit more money?
Spend more.
Probably would have spent a little bit more, and I think this is where we say, like, we got a really good deal with the photographer that we got. I wish we had spent more and got a different photographer and even added a videographer. So add a couple of, maybe another 3,000 to 4,000 on top of that. But aside from that, everything else was perfect. Everything we had, we were really happy with. We would have just spent the extra money on a better photographer and added a videographer. But otherwise, when I tell people we've spent 40,000, some people go, "Oh my God, that's so much money," and I'm like, "Yeah, but
that's everything.
Every cent was worth it," and that was everything. That was wedding dresses, suits, rings.
That was
a lot.
Her 3 rings as well. We got all the rings made up together.
Yeah.
Plus my ring.
Yeah,
Fireworks.
It's everything.
Yeah, and let me tell you, not a lot of people think about the indoor or the outdoor fireworks, and it was absolutely epic. I mean, OJ does just such a great job, and it was really, to see the fireworks going off indoors. It's a bit of it's a shock moment where you go, wow, this is unbelievable. This is an expensive wedding, but you didn't spend a great deal on fireworks, which was amazing. And that fireworks display it never ended. It was like, come on, I've got to go to the toilet.
The locals said it was bigger than their New Year's Eve.
Yes.
Oh, really?
So good. It was such a great night. You're both very strong-willed people, and I think that was the thing that I really recognised when I met you guys the first time. Both really passionate, both so in love with one another, and nothing has changed in the 3 years by the looks of it. I mean, you guys still look amazing together, and again, congratulations on the 3 years. I'm going to let you go so that you can have a cheeky little drink and then head up to the bedroom together.
Thanks, Adam.
Yeah, cheers, Adam.
Good on you guys. Take care. All the best. Hooroo.
Bye.